Jokes, he's not really gonna talk. I tried, guys, I'm sorry. So we're quickly going to grab some coffee, and then we're going to head over to Tatamagouche, and on the way we'll tell you guys all about the culture shocks that we've been experiencing here. I think we've got about 6 or 7 on the list, so stay tuned for those. What's up, guys? Carly here from New in the North and Jacques, and it's a beautiful crisp spring day in Canada, so we are doing a very quick trip to Tatamagouche, a bit of an impromptu adventure. Jacques tried some beer that he really liked, so we've got to go check out the brewing company there. So that's where we're headed. And first off, just wanted to say thank you so much for getting us to 500 subscribers. You guys are amazing. We are, as always, overwhelmed by the support from everyone. First thing that we noticed, even though we are native English speakers, English isn't our first language, first of all, and secondly, our English is very different from how Canadians speak, not just in accent, but there's also a couple cultural differences, and of course idioms and phrases that you normally use in your home country might not quite translate here. And the first example that I can think of is in South Africa, it's very normal to say hold thumbs, whereas here in Canada that is actually fingers crossed. So the first time I said to someone hold thumbs we pitched for a client, and I said, oh, hold thumbs, did we get this? My colleague didn't really understand what I was saying. So even if you come from an English speaking country, or if you speak English really well, definitely expect that some of what you say is going to go a little bit untranslated or might be missed, and vice versa. So you might not always understand what someone who is Canadian and has lived here forever is saying to you. So be aware of those things and be open to learning the new and strange ways of speaking and familiarize yourself with them. We made it to Tatamagouche, and we're going to check out the brewing company quickly, and then we'll talk some more about the cultural shocks that we've experienced. I would say that was a pretty successful trip to the Brewing Co. Jacques is very happy. He has his lagered ale, which is, I don't like beer, but it's actually pretty nice and pleasant. So he's ready for summer now. We just found out that there is actually a chowder festival going on today, and I'm a huge fan of chowder, so we're trying to find that now. But before we go there, the other thing that might be a culture shock for people is small talk and the fact that everyone greets you. We come from a very friendly country. South Africa is known to be quite open and friendly and chatty, but even for us, it is quite strange to be greeted by strangers who then will comment on the weather or anything that they've noticed in their neighborhood. That's like totally normal here, is for people to just strike up a conversation anywhere with people that you've never seen. And it's kind of cool. I think it's really great and adds to, I think, Canadians' stereotype of being really friendly people. And I know for some people that come from maybe Scandinavian countries or even Germany, the level of openness and small talk would be quite strange. So if you come from a country that is generally more reserved, then be prepared to chat with your neighbors and kind of anyone else in the neighborhood. Super serious queue for chowder today. I hope that means it's worth it. So for $8 at the Legion in Tatamagouche, I just got a little bread roll, a little tub of delicious smelling corn chowder. Oh yeah, that looks so good. I don't have a spoon with me, so it's gonna have to wait. But also a slice of carrot cake. Amazing. All right, so we're heading out to New Glasgow now, and we'll talk some more about culture shocks. One of the things that we noticed almost right off the bat is that the price you see is often not the price that you pay. So in South Africa, we have something called the Consumer Protection Act, and it is quite strong in South Africa, and that literally says that the price that you see in the shop is the price that you have to pay at checkout. And fun fact, I actually happened to get my first guitar at a third of the price because someone accidentally marked it incorrectly. So I basically got a $300 guitar for $100, which was an amazing score. But that's how strict the rules are in South Africa. In Canada, it's a little bit different. So the price that is listed in the shop is not what you pay at checkout, because at checkout they add HST or GST, which is the sales tax here. And quite often, if you're at a restaurant, you will also be charged a gratuity fee, which can be up to 18%. So often when you think that you're going to pay something, so $20 for food, for takeout, you actually end up paying closer to 40 when everything has been added. So just as an example, we stopped at a chocolate shop just now, and the items that we bought only came to $20, but we ended up paying almost $24 because of sales tax being added afterwards. So be careful of that when you land here. What you see marked is not the price that you're going to pay, and it really takes some getting used to thinking in that way that things are actually 15% more expensive than they're going to be depending on what province you live in. So check the sales tax and just always kind of mentally make that calculation that it's going to be a little bit more expensive than what you're expecting.
From the hurt and bad times, I'm feeling so alive. I'm feeling so alive. Hey, yeah. I'm ready to fly down.
The other thing that we noticed here that can be quite shocking for foreigners is that your credentials and work experience may not be accepted here or recognized. I was fortunate enough that my degree was assessed as being the standard to Canadian, but my work experience, a lot of people kind of questioned it just because it was in a different culture, a different market, so I had to do a lot of convincing. Jacques, however, had a very different experience in that his credentials aren't really recognized here. He's really specialized in a kind of unique area of law enforcement, and they don't really know what that is here. So he's spent a lot of time trying to get recertified for a lot of the things that he knew in South Africa and was certified to do there, but couldn't get recognition of prior learning for. So if you do move here, that may be one of the things that you need to overcome. But I would say to not let that discourage you from coming here, because there are ways and there are resources that you can tap into to overcome that challenge, and I think it's well worth the effort. Well, that was a really great little park, and I'm glad we did a little detour to check it out, and we're on the way home now. And that brings us to the next, I wouldn't really call this a culture shock, but it's definitely something different to get used to, and that is the different sports. So South Africa is part of the ex-British Commonwealth, and like many of the other Commonwealth countries like India or Australia and New Zealand, the most prevalent sports that we have are like cricket and rugby, and we also have football, which is known here as soccer. And those are kind of the sports that are national sports. We have huge sporting events around those, and we take part in the World Cups for those types of sports. And then here are sports that are kind of very foreign to us, which includes American football, ice hockey, baseball and basketball. And while we have recently had exposures to these sports in South Africa, they're not really national sports, so you don't really see huge sporting events around them. But it's certainly kind of fun to learn all of these different sports and start to watch them on TV. I, for one, find ice hockey quite fascinating because a lot of the time it's more like a boxing match. But we're still getting used to that and learning all the rules. And hopefully after COVID we'll actually get to attend some of the sports. Halifax actually does have an ice hockey team, although they don't play in the NHL, but it would be really cool to see some of those sports live. So we're looking forward to that. But yeah, definitely something that's a bit different and takes some getting used to. So last on the list is the money, which is made of plastic and has a see-through section. So yeah, lots of people call it Monopoly money, and it definitely does look interesting. But apart from the fact that it's made of plastic and looks interesting, you also have to kind of get used to new notes, which at first doesn't seem like a big problem, but when you're standing in a store and there's a queue behind you and there's a bit of pressure to like fork over the cash really quickly, getting confused between what's $5 and what's 20 gets a bit intense. Yeah. Once again, guys, thank you so much for joining us on this journey and learning about all of the culture shocks that we experienced as South Africans in coming to Canada. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe and hit the notification bell as well as the like button. That all just really helps us out with our views, and that means that we can make more content for you guys. See you next month.